My name is Alex Carter. My older brother Daniel has always been my hero, a dedicated officer in the United States Air Force. Daniel was currently deployed somewhere classified overseas, presumably Afghanistan. Before leaving, he handed me his keys and said firmly, "Take care of my house like it is yours, Alex. You are the only one I trust." One calm Saturday morning, I was sitting at my desk, sipping black coffee and casually scrolling through emails, when my phone buzzed, interrupting the silence. The caller ID read Laura Bennett, Daniel's next-door neighbor. Odd, Laura rarely called unless something serious was going on. "Hey Laura," I answered, keeping my tone casual. "Everything all right?" Laura's voice was tense, trembling slightly. "Alex, you need to come quick. There are people moving into Daniel's house." I sat up straight, a cold knot forming instantly in my chest. "What? Daniel is still overseas, what are you talking about?" "I know," she said quickly, her words stumbling over themselves, "but there is a moving truck outside and people unloading furniture. There is even a realtor with a clipboard standing out front. There is a sold sticker on the lawn sign, Alex." I stared blankly at my wall, disbelief locking my limbs. "That is impossible," I murmured, my voice thickening. "Daniel's house is not for sale. I overheard something about a homeowner association auction, Alex. They are taking down Daniel's curtains as we speak." My heart began to pound violently. Homeowner association auction, Daniel's house. It made no sense. "Stay right there, Laura. I am on my way," I said sharply, adrenaline surging. Without bothering to change from my hoodie and jeans, I snatched my keys from the table and sprinted toward the car, tires squealing as I sped toward Daniel's neighborhood. My mind was racing wildly. Daniel was counting on me. He was dealing with enough dangers overseas. He should not have to worry about losing his home. 20 minutes later, I turned onto Daniel's familiar street, my breath catching painfully. Sure enough, a large moving truck sat brazenly in the driveway, and unfamiliar faces laughed casually on Daniel's front porch. Anger and disbelief rose inside me, tightening my jaw. I threw my car into park and marched straight toward them, ready for answers. I stormed toward Daniel's porch, my heart hammering furiously against my chest. The young couple standing there, early 30s, smiling carelessly, did not even notice me approaching at first. They looked like the kind of people who believed buying a home was a lifestyle. Choice inspired by Pinterest boards. "Excuse me," I snapped, interrupting their cheerful conversation with the sharply dressed realtor. "What exactly do you think you are doing?" The three of them turned toward me, startled. The man, tall and casually confident, flashed a polite but confused smile. "Oh hi, can we help you?" he asked, exchanging a glance with his partner, a woman wearing oversized sunglasses, yoga pants, and an expression of mild annoyance at my intrusion. "Yes," I said, struggling to keep my voice steady. "You are moving into my brother's house, Daniel Carter. He is currently deployed overseas with the Air Force, so could someone please explain to me why there is a sold sign in his front yard?" The realtor stepped forward, clipboard in hand, flipping through pages briskly. "Sir, we purchased this property legally through a homeowner association foreclosure auction about 3 weeks ago. It is fully documented." I stared at her in disbelief, a bitter taste forming in my mouth. "Foreclosure? That is impossible. I have been paying Daniel's mortgage. There were no notices. He has not missed any payments." "Look, man," the young man chimed in gently, clearly uncomfortable with the sudden tension. "We do not know anything about mortgages. We just bought the house through the homeowner association's auction. Got a pretty great deal actually, just $12,000. $12,000, I repeated numbly, incredulous. The world seemed to tilt slightly. Daniel's home was worth at least $30,000. You bought this house for $12,000. "Yeah," the woman said hesitantly, shifting her sunglasses upward. "The homeowner association listed it online as a lien sale or something. We figured someone just had not paid their fees. Sorry if that is news to you." My hands clenched tightly at my sides, anger flaring hot in my chest. "This is beyond ridiculous. This house belongs to my brother. You cannot just move in." The realtor intervened again, her voice soft but firm. "I understand your frustration, sir, but we followed all legal procedures outlined by the homeowner association. Maybe you should speak directly to them." "Believe me, I will," I said bitterly, turning sharply and storming back toward my car. My thoughts churned wildly. Daniel had entrusted everything to me. How could this have happened right under my nose? Within half an hour I found myself standing in the stale, colorless office of the Homeowner Association's administration building. The atmosphere felt deliberately oppressive. After several impatient minutes, a thin man in a neatly pressed polo shirt approached me, a superficial smile on his lips. "Mr. Carter," he said, extending a hand that I pointedly ignored. "I am Gary Hoffman, Homeowner Association Compliance Director. What can I do for you today?" "Gary, you sold my brother's house," I said, fighting to remain composed. "Daniel Carter is deployed overseas. I have managed everything for him, mortgage, bills, everything. How exactly does a homeowner association auction off a house without notifying anyone properly?" Gary shrugged, turning casually toward a filing cabinet behind him. "We sent multiple notices," he said calmly, pulling out a thick file and sliding it toward me. "According to our records, there were repeated violations, grass too long, mailbox damaged, quarterly dues unpaid, all standard procedure." I scanned the documents, blood boiling as I saw the ridiculous charges: $125 for grass length, $75 for a chipped mailbox, accumulating to barely $700 total. "So you auctioned off a $300,000 home for a few $100 in homeowner association fines?" "Actually," Gary said with practiced nonchalance, "legal fees raised the total considerably, but yes, per our bylaws this was completely legal." "You never called me," I snapped. "You mailed letters to a house you knew was empty because its owner is serving his country overseas. You never even tried to reach me, and I am listed as his emergency contact. Do you understand how unethical this is?" Gary leaned back slightly, his face tightening briefly before returning to a mask of polite indifference. "We have no legal obligation to chase down absentee homeowners. It is their responsibility to keep up with their dues." "He is not absentee," I said sharply, my voice trembling with fury. "He is deployed, Gary. He is risking his life, and you knew that, did you not?" Gary's eyes flickered away momentarily, the first sign of genuine discomfort. "Military deployment does not automatically exempt homeowners from our bylaws. We did everything according to procedure." I stared hard at him, leaning forward across his desk. "You just took a home away from a man serving this country," I said slowly, my voice dripping with disdain. "Do you seriously believe that hiding behind procedure makes this okay?" Gary shifted uncomfortably but did not answer directly. "Perhaps you should consult a lawyer, Mr. Carter," he said finally, his tone dismissive. "This conversation is not productive anymore." I stood up, hands clenched tight. "Oh, trust me, I intend to," I shot back, already turning toward the exit. As I stepped out into the glaring sunlight, anger burned hotter in my veins, determination settling like iron in my chest. This was not just a mistake, it was theft dressed up in cold bureaucracy, and I would not rest until Daniel's home was back where it belonged. I stormed out of the homeowner association office, my head spinning and anger simmering dangerously beneath my skin. The midday sun felt oppressive, the air thick and suffocating. Sliding into my car, I slammed the door shut and leaned heavily against the steering wheel, trying desperately to calm my racing pulse. This was madness. Daniel had entrusted me with his home, his entire life back here. I could not shake the sickening feeling of letting him down as I pulled away from the sterile homeowner association building. My fingers drummed nervously on the wheel, thoughts spiraling. What would Daniel say if he found out my brother was already risking his life, and the last thing he needed was to learn his own sanctuary had been stolen from beneath him? Determined not to give up without a fight, I drove directly to the office of Stephen Grant, a local attorney I had heard good things about. Grant's reputation as competent and trustworthy preceded him. Surely he could set this mess straight. The office was modest but professional. Within minutes I sat anxiously across from Grant, explaining every frustrating detail of the nightmare unfolding before me. He listened intently, occasionally jotting down notes, his expression gradually darkening. When I finally finished, Grant leaned back, exhaling deeply. "Alex, this is deeply unfair. There is no doubt about that," he began, his voice cautious. "I sense a but coming," I interjected, feeling dread creep into my chest. He nodded solemnly. "Legally, the homeowner association probably followed procedure, no matter how morally questionable. I have seen these situations before. Homeowner associations leverage minor violations to seize properties quickly. Challenging them could be incredibly expensive and emotionally draining with very limited chances of winning. I felt a wave of hopelessness wash over me, bitter disappointment tightening my throat. You mean there is nothing we can do? They sold his house for $700, Steven. $700? My brother is deployed overseas protecting their right to do exactly this kind of injustice. I understand your frustration, Alex, Steven said gently, genuinely sympathetic. Believe me, I wish I had better news, but going up against the homeowner association means endless court battles and significant costs, financial and personal. It rarely ends well for homeowners. I left Steven's office feeling heavier than ever, trapped beneath the weight of helplessness. Friends and even family started urging me to let it go, saying it was too big a battle. My mother's worried voice echoed in my mind. Alex, do not ruin your life fighting an unfair system. Daniel would not want that. But that evening, alone in my apartment, the shadows stretched across the walls, the silence unbearable. My gaze lingered on a photograph of Daniel and me laughing on the porch of his home, our home in happier times. His words replayed in my mind, clear and unwavering. You are the only one I trust, Alex. I knew Daniel would not quit. He never had, not in combat, not in life. He had faced battles far greater than this, never backing down. My brother was not just a soldier, he was a fighter in every sense. Suddenly my despair transformed into resolve. I clenched my fists, determination igniting deep in my chest. This was not merely a legal fight, it was a fight for justice. For Daniel's honor and my integrity, letting go was not an option. Daniel trusted me, and I would be damned if I let bureaucracy steal his home. Taking a deep breath, I picked up my laptop and began researching. If the system was broken, I would find a way around it, through it, whatever it took. This was not over, it was just beginning. That night marked a turning point. Fueled by anger, frustration, and a fierce determination to set things right, I dove into an ocean of legal research. The glare of my laptop screen became my constant companion, illuminating page after page of dense homeowner association bylaws, foreclosure statutes, and homeowner horror stories. I learned about obscure rules, lien auctions, and how minor infractions could snowball into catastrophic outcomes for unsuspecting homeowners. It became painfully clear this was not an isolated case. The system itself seemed rigged, built to prey on those who could not or did not know how to fight back. Daniel's story was just one among countless others, invisible victims trapped within a bureaucratic nightmare. Days blurred together as I meticulously pieced together every shred of evidence. Sticky notes plastered my walls and highlighters turned dense legal jargon into a road map. Yet I quickly realized that even armed with knowledge, I would need concrete proof of deliberate wrongdoing to stand a chance in court. Then, unexpectedly, hope arrived in the form of an email late one evening. It was from someone named Rachel Stone. The subject line read Urgent Homeowner Association Insider Information. Intrigued and suspicious, I clicked open the message. Dear Alex, you do not know me, but I have been quietly following your brother's case. I am an investigative journalist specializing in corruption cases. Your homeowner association has a history of suspicious foreclosures. Meet me tomorrow at the cafe on 5th Street, bring a USB drive, I have something you will want to see. Rachel. Adrenaline surged through me. Could this be a trick or some bizarre stroke of luck? Desperation overcame caution and I quickly replied, I will be there. The next morning, my nerves tangled as I stepped into the bustling cafe. A woman waved discreetly from a corner booth and I approached cautiously. Rachel, I asked softly. She nodded warmly, extending a hand. Alex Cartwright, sit down please. I took a seat, heart racing. What is this about? Rachel glanced around cautiously, then leaned forward. I have a source within the homeowner association who wants to stay anonymous. He has provided internal documents, recordings, and email threads. This is not a misunderstanding or simple negligence. They are deliberately targeting homes owned by absentee military members. I stared at her, stunned. You are saying Daniel's home was not randomly selected? They knew exactly what they were doing. Yes, Rachel affirmed gravely, your brother's deployment was discussed explicitly in their internal meetings. Here, listen to this. She slid her laptop toward me, plugging in earphones. A recording played voices. Casual but unmistakable, owners deployed overseas, houses empty, easy pickings, quick auction. My fists clenched involuntarily, anger and disgust swirling violently inside me. This is criminal, I whispered, voice strained with rage. It is, Rachel agreed. This kind of evidence changes everything, Alex. They cannot hide behind procedure anymore. As we parted ways, Rachel handed me a folder packed with printed emails and meeting transcripts along with the USB drive containing the recording, her eyes locked onto mine, serious yet hopeful. You can win this, Alex, she said firmly, but it will take guts to face them down. Are you ready? I nodded slowly, newfound strength solidifying within me. More than ready, thank you, Rachel. Walking away from the cafe, my steps felt lighter, purpose clearer than ever before. I was not alone anymore. Rachel's courage and evidence were the missing pieces I desperately needed. This was no longer just about Daniel's home, it was about exposing a system designed to exploit those who served, and now finally I had a fighting chance. With Rachel's documents and the damning recording in hand, my confidence soared. For the first time since this ordeal began, I felt momentum shifting in my favor. Yet as quickly as hope had appeared, so did a new darkness. The threat started subtly at first. It was anonymous phone calls, silent, unsettling, always late at night. The calls escalated into menacing whispers. Drop the case, Alex. Walk away. My nerves grew frayed, sleep became rare as anxiety took root. Then came the vandalism. One chilly morning I stepped outside my apartment to find all 4 tires on my car slashed, the windshield cracked in a deliberate spiderweb pattern. A note hastily scrawled and pinned under the wiper read simply, "This is your only warning." Hands trembling, I stared at the words, a wave of nausea sweeping through me. Someone wanted me to stop digging, to abandon Daniel's fight. Fear churned in my stomach, whispering doubts into my mind. Was it worth it? How far would these people go? But then I remembered Daniel, strong, courageous Daniel, who had never run from danger. He had always taught me bravery was not about being fearless, it was about standing firm despite the fear. I would not betray him now, not when he needed me most. That afternoon, feeling cornered but resolute, I reached out to someone whose name had emerged repeatedly in my research, Robert Kingsley, a seasoned attorney renowned for his fearless advocacy against corrupt homeowner associations. Kingsley had won landmark cases for people just like Daniel, people betrayed by the very organizations supposed to protect their homes. Within hours, Kingsley returned my call. His deep voice exuded calm strength. "Alex Carter, I have heard about your brother's case. Meet me tomorrow at my office. Bring everything you have. We are going to fight this." Kingsley's office was modest but vibrant, walls covered in framed newspaper articles highlighting his courtroom victories. He greeted me with a firm handshake, immediately putting me at ease. "I understand you faced some intimidation," he began, eyes serious but reassuring. "Yeah," I admitted quietly, "phone threats, my car vandalized." Kingsley nodded solemnly, taking careful notes. "They are scared, that means we are getting close. Show me what evidence you have got." As I laid out Rachel's documents and played the chilling homeowner association recording, Kingsley listened intently, his jaw tightening visibly. "This is explosive," he said finally, conviction filling his voice. "They have clearly broken federal law, specifically targeting deployed service members. That is not negligence, it is calculated malice." "So what happens now?" I asked cautiously. Kingsley smiled, a fighter's grin, full of controlled fury. "We file an aggressive lawsuit, wrongful foreclosure, intentional misconduct, emotional distress and violations of the Service Member Civil Relief Act. We do not settle quietly, we expose their actions in open court." His determination was contagious, yet the weight of it all pressed heavily on me. "Will it get worse?" I asked hesitantly. Kingsley paused, his expression softening slightly. "It might. Cases like these get ugly before they resolve. The homeowner association will stall, deny, threaten further, anything to break your will, but you are not alone anymore, Alex. I will stand with you every step of the way." I nodded firmly, feeling renewed strength flow through me. Kingsley's reassurance combined with Rachel's courage meant I now had allies in a fight that once felt hopelessly solitary. As I left his office that evening, fear still lingered, but determination overshadowed it. I whispered under my breath a promise to myself, to Daniel, and now to every silent victim this broken system had wronged: I will not back down. Within days of filing our lawsuit, the story exploded. Rachel Stone's initial investigative piece went viral, igniting a firestorm of public outrage. News outlets from CNN to NBC scrambled to pick up the story, branding it as a shocking case of injustice against a deployed service member. Images of Daniel in uniform, next to photos of his house now occupied by strangers, flooded the screens nationwide. My phone rang incessantly, journalists, veteran advocacy groups, even politicians, all demanding details. It was overwhelming, yet oddly empowering. For months I had felt invisible, unheard, battling a faceless bureaucracy. Now the entire country seemed to stand behind me. At the homeowner association offices, the atmosphere grew tense. Protesters gathered daily at their entrance, carrying signs that read "Justice for Daniel" and "Protect those who serve." Public pressure mounted, and online petitions demanding accountability gained hundreds of thousands of signatures. Yet despite the swelling public support, new pressures emerged. Gary Hoffman, the homeowner association director, went on a media offensive, claiming victimhood and deflecting blame. "It is unfortunate," he told a local news station coldly, "but our actions were strictly by the book." I watched the broadcast, fists clenched, stomach twisting. Kingsley immediately called me afterward, sensing my anger. "They are desperate," he assured me. "That is why they are going public. Stay calm, the facts are on our side." Then, unexpectedly, a new challenge hit closer to home. My phone buzzed again, a number I had not seen in months. It was Daniel calling via satellite from overseas. My heart raced as I answered, suddenly terrified of how he might react. "Alex," his familiar voice crackled through the static. "Dan, hey, it is me," I replied shakily, anxiety knotting my throat. "I have seen the news," he said quietly, exhaustion evident in his voice. "Is it true? Did they really sell my house?" I hesitated, guilt squeezing my chest tightly. "It is true. I am so sorry, Dan. I tried everything." "Alex, stop." Daniel cut me off gently. "I called to thank you. You did not back down. You did exactly what I knew you would. I am proud of you." Relief flooded through me, eyes suddenly stinging with emotion. "We are getting it back, Daniel," I said firmly, my voice stronger. "I promise." "I know you will," he said softly, the line fading slightly. "Stay strong. I will be home soon." That revelation sent a new wave of urgency surging through me. Daniel was coming home sooner than expected. Our fight now had a deadline. I called Kingsley immediately, explaining the situation. "We will move faster," Kingsley assured me. "With public opinion this strong, the homeowner association's position is weakening by the hour. This accelerates things, but it works to our advantage." As I hung up, a strange sense of clarity enveloped me. Public support had turned the tables dramatically, yet the pressure of Daniel's imminent return loomed large. The fight was no longer just personal, it had become a national statement about honor, justice, and standing up against institutionalized greed. With my brother's voice still echoing in my ears, I knew retreating now was not an option. We would finish this, no matter how fiercely the homeowner association fought back. Daniel deserved to come home not to a battlefield, but to the sanctuary he had earned. As the trial approached, tension thickened around us. Media vans lined the courthouse, and a steady crowd gathered each morning, eager to witness the battle firsthand. This was not just Daniel's fight anymore, it had evolved into a broader struggle against injustice that resonated nationwide. Stepping into the courtroom, I felt a surge of anxiety and anticipation. Beside me, Robert Kingsley exuded a calm confidence, offering an encouraging nod. Across the room, Gary Hoffman and the homeowner association attorneys sat rigidly, faces hardened in determination. Kingsley wasted no time. He laid out the facts clearly, highlighting the blatant violations of federal law. The courtroom listened intently as he presented Rachel's investigative findings, emails, memos, and the shocking recorded conversations revealing the homeowner association's deliberate targeting of deployed military personnel. The defendants knew exactly what they were doing, Kingsley argued passionately. They systematically targeted service members who could not defend their rights. This is not about minor infractions, it is deliberate exploitation of those serving our country. The homeowner association's lawyer countered coldly, citing procedural compliance and arguing that Daniel as a homeowner bore ultimate responsibility for miscommunications. Each word felt like salt rubbed into a raw wound. Then Kingsley turned toward the judge, his voice steady yet intense. "Your Honor, to further illustrate deliberate intent, we call Brian Collins to the stand." Murmurs spread across the gallery. I glanced curiously at Kingsley, unsure who Brian Collins was. A middle-aged man stood hesitantly, eyes downcast, as he took the witness seat. Recognition flashed. Collins was a homeowner association board member. Collins avoided eye contact initially, his voice quiet. Kingsley approached gently yet firmly. "Mr. Collins, can you tell the court what you witnessed regarding Daniel Carter's home?" Collins drew a shaky breath. "At first I believed we were simply enforcing routine bylaws, but during a board meeting Gary Hoffman explicitly mentioned targeting homes of deployed military personnel, knowing they would be easier to foreclose upon." An audible gasp swept the room. Hoffman's face turned pale, his lawyer furiously whispering in his ear. Collins continued, voice clearer now. "I objected privately but feared retaliation if I spoke up openly. Seeing Daniel's story on national television compelled me to come forward. This foreclosure was not accidental, it was planned." The judge's eyes narrowed sharply toward Hoffman, whose calm facade visibly crumbled. Kingsley addressed Collins deliberately. "Are you stating under oath that the homeowner association knowingly and maliciously violated federal protections intended to safeguard active duty service members?" "Yes," Collins confirmed firmly, finally meeting my gaze directly. "That is exactly what happened." As Collins stepped down, a heavy silence filled the courtroom. Kingsley turned to face the judge directly. "Your Honor," Kingsley concluded forcefully, "this is not just a wrongful foreclosure, this is exploitation cloaked in procedural technicality. Daniel Carter deserves justice not merely for himself but for every service member targeted by institutions abusing their power." The judge deliberated briefly, tension pressing painfully upon us all. Finally she cleared her throat, voice resolute. "Given the compelling evidence presented today, I rule that homeowner association's foreclosure and subsequent sale null and void. I further order immediate restoration of the property to Daniel Carter." Relief flooded through me, nearly buckling my knees. Emotion clogged my throat as cheers erupted in the gallery. Kingsley clapped a firm hand on my shoulder, smiling broadly. "You did it, Alex," he said quietly, pride in his eyes. "Justice won." But as I turned toward the door, my heart steadied with a deeper realization. We had not just reclaimed Daniel's home, we had begun dismantling a system built on exploitation. This victory marked more than a personal triumph. It was a statement to anyone who believed justice could be silenced by intimidation and bureaucracy. We had won this battle, and perhaps, just perhaps, we had begun to win the war. 2 weeks after the verdict, Daniel finally came home. Standing beside me on his driveway, he paused, taking in the familiar sight of his house. The air felt calm, peaceful in a way it had not in months. He slowly walked toward the porch, his fingers gently brushing against the mailbox we had painted together years ago. I watched silently, emotions tangled in my chest. Daniel did not say a word, but I could see everything reflected in his eyes: pain, gratitude, relief. Finally he turned his gaze, meeting mine directly. "Alex," he said softly, his voice tight with emotion, "you fought for me when I could not fight for myself. Thank you is not enough." "You would have done the same," I replied quietly, throat tight. "Besides, you trusted me, Dan. I could not let you down." Daniel took a deep breath, glancing upward, blinking hard. "I spent months overseas believing this house was my sanctuary, my anchor back to a normal life. When I heard what happened, I thought I had lost it all, but seeing it now untouched, knowing what you risked for this, I realized the house was never the sanctuary you were." His words caught me off guard, warmth spreading through me as tears blurred my vision. Stepping forward, Daniel wrapped me into a fierce hug, the kind of embrace we had not shared since childhood, filled with unspoken gratitude and brotherly love. We stood there quietly, a powerful silence between us. In that moment, the significance of our fight crystallized perfectly. This was not just about a property or legal victory, it was about defending the bonds that mattered most. The trust Daniel had placed in me had survived, unbroken and stronger than ever. "Welcome home, Daniel," I finally whispered. He nodded, smiling warmly. "Thanks to you, Alex. It truly feels like home." In the weeks following Daniel's return, our story resonated far beyond just us. Letters and emails poured in from military families nationwide, each detailing their own silent battles against abusive homeowner associations and predatory housing practices. As the messages piled higher, I knew our fight was far from over. It had become something bigger. Robert Kingsley reached out one evening, suggesting we meet for coffee. When we sat down, his expression was thoughtful yet purposeful. "Alex," he began earnestly, "Daniel's case has exposed a deep systemic issue, but we cannot stop at one victory. Families everywhere are facing these injustices without a voice or resources to fight back." "I have been thinking the same," I admitted quietly. "The problem feels overwhelming though. How can we truly help them?" Kingsley leaned forward, a spark of determination lighting his eyes. "We start by giving them the tools they need: legal advice, representation, support. We build something that lasts beyond just one case." Within days, alongside Rachel Stone and Daniel's unwavering support, we founded the Guardian Shield Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to defending active duty military personnel from housing abuses and unethical foreclosures. Our mission was simple yet powerful: empower those serving our country to protect their homes, their dignity, and their peace of mind. Soon Daniel joined our outreach events, quietly speaking to packed community centers, his uniform serving as a potent reminder of our cause. "Know your rights," he gently encouraged young soldiers and anxious families. "You have the power to stand up against injustice. You are not alone." One quiet evening, after a particularly busy event, I stood beside Daniel, watching families leave with renewed hope in their eyes. "You ever get tired of telling our story?" Daniel asked gently. I smiled, shaking my head. "Never, because every time we share it, it reminds someone else that justice is worth fighting for." As we prepared to leave, my phone buzzed with a new message: another service member facing eviction due to minor homeowner association infractions, asking desperately for our help. Daniel looked at me knowingly. "Another one." I nodded firmly, resolve stronger than ever.